All right, we're welcoming our Facebook Live audience here. We're just getting ready to start the Warrior versus Zombie podcast, and I want to make sure that we've got things going here. I have Rob Griffin here, and we'll come back to that in a second. But welcome to the Facebook Live audience, and I'm excited to see you for episode number 2 of Warrior versus Zombie with Rob Griffin, and we'll be back in a second. All right, we're here with Warrior versus Zombie episode 2, where we talk about warriors. Warriors are entrepreneurs, small business owners, just individuals that are trying to lead their tribe into the unknown and forage through. And the zombie aspect of that is basically we're all kind of fighting against things. And I think this is going to be an interesting episode because we are dealing in my book, which will come out not too distant future, the zombie apocalypse. We're going through a lot of things.
Yeah, we are.
And so the first thing I want to do is kind of do a check-in with the audience and check in with Rob, and we'll get a little bit into Rob's background, but he is an amazing person, somebody who's helping me with the podcast, but also has an awesome story, and we'll get into that in a second. But where are you with this coronavirus thing, Rob? I mean, I can't get into this discussion because it's like everywhere I look. And so tell me a little bit about what you think about that.
All right, so this, my opinion may be a little unpopular, so I'll apologize in advance to your audience. I think there's a lot of mass hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it cracks me up, being a retired police officer / detective. I get to see behind the curtain in a lot of things. I was a counterterrorism detective for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of my, I did a lot in police work. I saw a lot that most people would never get to see, and there's a reason why we don't let you guys see everything. Because the public at large cannot handle it.
Right.
Like if they knew a lot of the stuff that happened behind the scenes, they would be in a constant state of panic. And so there's a lot that happens, national security threats, terrorists trying to kill people, a lot of bad things that go unreported.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want the sheeple, and I say that with the most respect possible.
I call them zombies. So
Yeah,
actually, that's kind of the same thing, moving forward without your own intention, with somebody else's either manipulation or intention for you to go, right?
They just don't understand, and they walk through all day-to-day life assuming nothing bad is ever going to happen to me, and they ultimately set themselves up to become a victim. But when things happen that are out into the public and the media starts whipping it all into a frenzy, what we see is a pandemic,
right?
A global pandemic now, and people freaking out and going out there, and so I put a post today, this morning. I put a post on social media just to say I refuse to live in fear. And things happen all the time, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. And so one of my friends puts on there, he goes, well, what if you get COVID-19? I'm like, well, I'm thinking in my mind, what if I get struck by lightning walking into my car? What if an earthquake hits? More people get killed in crosswalks than will ever be killed by COVID-19.
Right.
But we're not outlawing crosswalks. I just think it's silly. I think we need to be responsible. We need to, wash our hands, do all that stuff, which we should have been doing anyway.
Right.
And it will work itself out. I mean, I'm sure you've had a virus in your life.
Oh yeah, and actually I've been in my journey in different types of public settings where you're encountering people all the time, and so I had to learn very early on why I kept getting sick was because I shook people's hands and then didn't bother to wash them before I managed to touch my face or whatever, and then next thing I know I was sick, and because I'm exposed running networking groups and all that stuff and being exposed to people, you kind of learn that. The thing I think that has gotten people a little bit freaked out is the fact that, at least as it's currently portrayed, is that you can go along without any symptoms and be asymptomatic, but yet be carrying it. And I think that's what freaks people out and what's probably enabled them to keep us away from each other in the social distancing conversation.
Yeah, and that could be the same for hepatitis, that could be the same for HIV, that could be the same for a whole lot of a host of other things. Here's what boggles my mind. See, there's this thing called the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And say what in the whole idea behind the law of attraction, I call it really it's just prayer.
Mm-hmm.
But some people who don't believe in God, they call it law of attraction. But anyway, it's about focused intent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with your RAS filter? Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, so a RAS filter is something in your brain. So when you tell your brain to look for something, like for example, if you're driving home right now listening to David's show, focus on white Hondas.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden now you'll see tons and tons of white Honda.
Reticular activating system.
Yeah,
okay,
RAS.
So RAS. Okay,
RAS
I just never called it RAS. Okay. So I understand reticular activating system.
Okay, and so you get what you focus on. And so when you focus on negativity, it draws it to you. And it may have been there all along, but now you're noticing it more, and now you're freaking out more. And so now that's why these people are grossly overreacting. There's two mindsets in the world. There's a mindset of scarcity, and there's a mindset of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And see, the scarcity people are the ones that are buying up all the toilet paper and buying up all.
Yeah, can you help me with that? I was out of town for a week in Washington State for all people who want to really freak out.
Yeah.
And I got back and I forgot to get toilet paper before I left. And literally yesterday, or no, the day before, I went to the store thinking I'll just pick up a pack of toilet paper because I'm got one roll left in the house.
Wow.
And there was literally none. Thank God I have friends, and somebody brought me a pack of toilet paper to the meeting that I had Monday evening.
Wow.
That's just the panic thing, the fear-based, oh my gosh, am I going to be holed up in here and not have access to toilet paper?
It cracks me up. So like at these friends of mine, like, and you know who you are.
Yes.
You're on social media and you're posting pictures of empty shelves and you're posting all this stuff and like, okay, listen, walk around the rest of the restaurant or the rest of the shopping center, and the aisles are full of other food. Maybe you don't have what you want, but it's not like you're gonna die. There's plenty of food. You can still go to a friggin' drive-through and buy a hamburger. Like, calm down. And so when I see these people freaking out, I'm like, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And like one of my friends, like, they'll probably see this and I'll get a nasty email. They message me on Facebook. Well, if you're not worried about this, then you're being irresponsible. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between being scared and being responsible.
Sure.
I will be responsible, but I refuse to live in fear. God says don't live in fear. I'm not going to live in fear.
Yeah. Well, I think we're more aligned than you realize, but no, I'm not offended. I'm certain that somebody in one of our audiences will find something, anytime you take a position on anything, the trolls pop out, and that's part of or maybe the zombies that are, because we're all infected, by the way. I'm not suggesting that I'm not a zombie. I mean, I have my own bad habits and things that I don't do, that I have to overcome on a daily basis. So.
Well, we all have that. It's just a matter of, putting things in priority, and I think, because what happens if we start freaking out, then you spread fears faster than any virus on planet Earth. And so when fear gets active, and it just makes people do things they wouldn't normally do.
Well, as somebody who's been in law enforcement and seen a whole lot more probably behind the scenes than I have, you probably...
I just realized something.
Okay.
Go down there and hit microphone. No, to your right. The yellow button.
Oh, we've been on mute the whole time.
Yes.
On the podcast.
Don't worry, we can pull the audio from here and we can fix it. So we're good. We're good.
All right.
Okay, so let's just keep on tracking.
We're going to keep trucking here.
Yeah.
So, Facebook Live audience, you get to see how the sausage is made or not made. So anyway, let's move on. And I was just getting ready to kind of take a break, but I wanted to kind of segue back to this. But you've obviously gotten some of the strength of your faith and your ability to deal with things that are confronting you today and will confront you in the future based upon the way you dealt with those situations as you were going through your journey up to this point. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the threats, zombies, things you've overcome in your journey, anything, or just tell me what would be that when we come back. Okay, let's take a quick break.
Sure.
Well,
it's okay, no big deal.
I'm glad I did this with you.
Yeah, so the next time, well, not next time, after this is over, we can extract that audio and we can fix the podcast, so no big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I got a pro here, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're back and with Rob Griffin, and this is Warrior versus Zombie, and we are live on the podcast and having a good time here. We just talked about COVID-19, the coronavirus, and the spirit of fear and the spirit of faith and the differences there. And as a warrior, and again, I haven't known you that long, but what I've learned about you is you truly are a warrior and have been so in many aspects of your life, with your family, with your career. Tell me a little bit about that. How have you gotten to where you're at right here?
So it's all about perspective.
Okay.
See, being a police officer was great training for life, but I had training early on how to deal with adversity because I grew up in a household that was not smooth and it was not pleasant. I had siblings that had substance abuse problems, and so there was turmoil on a daily. And so people be like, well, man, you had all this turmoil going on. Yeah, okay, but the turmoil was a blessing. And they go, what are you talking about? And then I get involved in law enforcement, and you talk about seeing carnage and seeing negativity. Every day it's rape, murder, theft, battery, and just people getting choked and stabbed and stolen. And I would come home and people are like, my God, why are you always so positive? I said, because I know what the other side looks like. I have perspective where most of you don't. Right. Most of your listeners don't, because they walk around life thinking that nothing bad is going to ever happen to them. And once they hit a little hiccup, they go, oh my God, and they can't handle it because they've never had to deal with it. And so I think that turmoil, the negativity that the world throws at you is a blessing because it gives you perspective and it makes you realize when you do have it good and when things are going well, how you should really appreciate that and be thankful. Because there's a lot of people out there. I tell people all the time, I used to run into people who were, I was on a crime scene and they were taking their last breath. I've watched people die. I've seen it multiple times. And I've showed up and I remember thinking to myself, I was going, man, I wonder if this dude knew he was going to die today.
Wow.
Or I wonder if this woman knew that, she was going to get rear-ended and pushed into a vehicle and practically chopped in half, and I had to watch her pass away in front of me because they were probably just coming home from work.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were like, oh, I'm just going to go home, I'm going to cook dinner, and then this happens, right?
Wow.
And so it made me
Definitely
come home and go, man, we are the luckiest people on planet Earth. Because, God forbid, she's going to kill me if she hears this. I have a sister who loves to complain. And she called me one day when I was at work, and she was just about this thing. She got into an argument with some person, and I was having to listen to it. And I said, do you know where I'm at right now? She's like, no. I said, I'm at work. She goes, okay, well, so what's up at work? I'm actually sitting in a garage, and I just cut down a female who'd hung herself. She's laying right over here to my left. And inside the house right now, there's 2 kids whose life is completely ruined because they came home from school and mom had left a note on the counter that said, hey, whatever you do, don't go in the garage. Now you're 12 and 10 years old. What are you going to do?
Go in the garage.
They go in there and mom's swinging, deceased. Call 911. I said, tell me again how bad your day is. And so that's when I'm like, I'm very lucky.
Wow.
I'm very blessed. Because I've seen it, man, and I've had to touch it, smell it, deal with it, and a lot of people haven't, and that's why they get sidetracked by small hiccups. So you ask me how? Perspective.
Wow. I mean, that's so powerful because I think a lot of times when we experience even what people are experiencing right now, which is in some cases when you look at the stock market or you look at, a lot of different things have never been this bad, right? I mean, and the reality of it is they have.
Many times.
Many times, not many times a day, many thousand, for somebody. And the fact is, we're blessed. We have a reason to feel abundance. And that perspective, that ability to limit and not dwell on the negative and move forward is something that you seem like you've mastered in your own life, at least to a degree better than many.
One of my favorite quotes, David, is the fish is the last one to notice the water because they're in it.
Yeah.
And they don't even have a concept of what water is. They just swim around, right? It's just normal for them. And they don't understand it because that's all they know. I like dealing with people who are immigrants to the United States or people who've gone through adversity to get here because they have perspective.
They appreciate what they have here.
So why is it that a person will put their body on a raft, risk their life to get here,
right,
work their face off and become a multimillionaire, but someone who's born and raised in the United States have this professional job of bitching and complaining most of the time, about, oh, this is not perfect. Like, give me a break, man. People are dying to get here. And because they have perspective. And so the fish are the last one to notice the water because they're in it, and this is so normal and so comfortable to them that when adversity comes their way, they don't know how to handle it. And I think that you got to put yourself in a perspective where you can go out and see the world a little bit, and you come home, you'll really appreciate where you live.
Yeah, there's a ton of truth in that. In fact, everything that I look at everything that when it happened to me in my life or on my journey that was at the time seemed like the worst thing that could possibly happen. And now with the perspective of history, I look back and realize that I couldn't have done a lot of things. It was not the worst thing that happened because frankly, the things that I learned, the water that I didn't see when things were good, now I know, number one, that I can get through it. And number two, I learned some stuff that when the next one comes, I mean, I got caught personally in the 2008 crash.
Yeah, me too.
And okay, so we have something in common there. Yeah. And it sounds kind of silly with the COVID-19 what we're dealing with now, but actually I'm in better shape to deal with the market changes and everything else here. Not necessarily because I'm massively smarter, but I know that this too will pass. So I have faith that, that God's still on the throne, if I can say that way.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it through.
Well, 08, right? It was a big deal for a lot of people. I lived in Nevada.
Oh, wow.
We were the foreclosure capital of the United States. I hadn't done anything wrong. I was a victim of bad timing. Had a good job, hard worker, police detective, had my house. The market was shooting up like this in 06. Things were just ridiculous. I had a townhouse. I was tacking a for sale sign in my front yard. I was for sale by owner. I was not on the MLS. I was hammering a stick into the ground. A car drives up and goes, "I'll buy it." I go, "What? How much?" He goes, "Whatever you have on the sign. You just got to promise me you're not going to sell it to anybody else." I said, "Well, bring me back whatever that check they give you. I can't remember what it's called."
Yeah.
That check that holds the property, earnest money.
Earnest money, right.
And I said, "Yeah, bring me an earnest check for $5,000." He goes, the bank comes back 10 minutes later and gives me an earnest check. And I'm like, and I'd sold my condo and I made a nice little chunk of money. So, oh shoot, man, I'll go buy another one, which I did. And I thought I'll buy two.
Right.
Because I'll get an investment property because this is going to go so well. This is ridiculous. I'm like, man, I am so smart. And now I have my primary residence. I have an investment property, and everything was going like this. And then the market tanked, and my house went from, it was worth less than half what I paid for it, and I had two of them. And so I lost everything. And a lot of people go, well, why me? And I look back now because that it made me start thinking outside the box. It made me think, well, maybe, my police career is great. Don't get me wrong. I love being an officer, a detective, and all that stuff. I said, but I need to have a backup plan in case. So I started a side hustle, right? Within 3.5 years, my side hustle was paying me 6 figures.
Wow.
So I had my police salary, I had my little, 6-figure side hustle, and things were going really well. And then that would allow me the option, because most people don't have those, the option to retire early, which I did. So I punched out 13 years ahead of schedule, moved my family to Texas. That was 5 years ago, by the way. And so a lot of people go, man, that was horrible. You lost your house, you lost everything. I said, yeah, but I got freedom.
Right.
For 5 years, I had a boss, I didn't have to answer to nobody. That's, had I just stayed there, who knows? I'd probably still be a police officer today. Had '08 not happened, I'd have almost guarantee you I'd probably still be a police officer in Nevada.
Right.
And I look back now, last year.
And I wouldn't know you. So this
correct.
That would be a real loss for me.
Yeah.
So.
Last year in Henderson where I worked, there were 8 or 9 police-involved shootings.
Wow.
And who's to know, it couldn't have gone really bad. So I think God had a plan a long time ago. I had never done a podcast. I never sat in front of a microphone. I was a police officer. But he had a plan that was bigger than mine. And so sometime when you get those curveballs, that's just God throwing you a little reminder that he needs you to nudge into a different direction. Listen to him.
That's a great way to end this segment. Let's come back to the segment. I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of where you are right now and where you want to go with the things that you're doing now. And you mentioned podcast, you mentioned your side hustle, if that's still happening, and what you got going, and anything else you want to share with it. This is an incredible journey already for me, so I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better.
Awesome.
So
thanks.
let's go to the
You're getting the hang of it.
starting to. It's a little clunky, but
you should have seen my first show. It was a train wreck. It was bad.
well, but you didn't have you didn't have guys like you. So yeah, I'd like to kind of talk about the whole podcast, whatever you want to share, but I really want to kind of understand your current,
sure.
Where you're at and here and that kind of stuff. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, unmute the mic first. Do the mic first. All right, there you go.
All right, we're back here, Warrior versus Zombie, and we're having a great conversation on everything from coronavirus to the 2008 crash to abundance to scarcity to, gosh, we've covered a lot of ground here, Rob. Let me get this all the way down here so we can talk. I want to hear what you have to say, because where you're at now has already been a blessing to me with the whole podcasting, but I know there's more to that story and how you got into this. It wasn't like part of the plan, and I know that you're blessing other people with things that you've learned and going through this, and you're still building your main business and all this kind of stuff. So tell me a little bit about that.
Man, I got so much going on. It's hard to keep track sometimes. Like my mom's like, you're starting another business? And I can't help it. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I'll tell you, so I started a side hustle while I was a detective out of necessity. If I hadn't been thrown under the bus like I was, that would have never happened. And because I was having a good time, I was making good money, good benefits, but it forced me to start thinking like an entrepreneur, and that's what really changed me. They say formal education can make you a living, personal education can make you a fortune. And so I had given up on study and school when I got out of traditional school, and I just stopped doing that. And then getting involved in direct sales, it really made me start pouring into personal development. I started reading books and listening to audios. I shut off the damn TV and started focusing on good stuff. And
good advice right now, right?
Yeah, and so I was literally feeding my brain as opposed to just entertaining myself. And what it did, it changed me as a human being. And then I also started hanging around this is going to sound bad, good, clean, wholesome people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're an undercover detective and you're hanging out with scumbags, and so your perspective is different, right? Because I remember I'm swimming around that water, and that's all I know. I started hanging around spiritual people and good people, and I actually got saved at a business convention. You know, like call it 7 or 8 years ago.
Wow. So it's been that
It's
recent. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
been relatively recent, and so it really changed me as a human. Like the dude you know today and the guy that I was 8 years ago, completely different people. Like it was different. Every other word out of Rob's mouth was an expletive, and I was drinking, and it was bad. And not that I was a bad person. I was in my fishbowl, right? And I didn't realize. And so I got saved. I became a better father, became a better husband. I became more motivated than I've ever been, and I was in my 40s.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to go take over the world. And so that got me to change my perspective. And from there, I've just, my eyes opened up to opportunities. So whenever I see it, I grasp it. So I was a guest on a podcast a little over 2 years ago, and I was just doing this. I was an interviewee, and the guy goes, man, you should do your own show. And I said, I don't really want to do that. I thought about it. I'm here to tell you right now, if you're in sales and you don't have your own podcast, you're crazy. And so I decided to start my own show just as a hobby. I had no idea that it would ever take me anywhere. No clue. But what it did is it started to open up so many doors and brought me so much more opportunity, more than I would even plan for. And so now it's gotten to the point where, you know, I have a studio that I actually built for me, but it's sat here empty, so that, you know what, I'll rent it out. And so there's a little income that comes. It's very little, by the way, but by the time we cover our overhead and all that, it's very little. But it's a way that I can give it back and bless others, you know. And so I didn't see that coming. And again, we get back to that whole tug that God's going to pull on your heart, right? Like He'll tug you in certain ways because He's got a blessing for you. And I can think of the analogy, David. Like, you ever see that meme or that picture online where it shows a little girl and she's got a teddy bear behind her back, and it's got like God, and He's got this no, she's holding the little teddy bear, and God's standing in front of her, and He's got a huge teddy bear behind His back, and she's like, no, but I love my bear. And the whole idea is because we don't want to let go of the little bear because it's comfortable.
Sure.
But you got to get uncomfortable to get that big prize. And so I would challenge you to get uncomfortable. And so that's what I've been diving towards, uncomfortable lately. Every chance it comes my way. Like, I had these two young men approach me, and they were a virtual reality company, and they were building video games. And I said, have you ever considered using your talents to train the police? And they're like, no. I said, well, man, you realize the opportunity that's there?
Yeah, for sure.
And so it was just an idea. We took the idea, we entered it into the big idea competition at UT Dallas 2 years ago, and we won the whole thing.
Wow.
264 companies were
You guys won.
First place.
Wow.
We won $30,000 in prize money. We took that money, formed a corporation now, and we have clients like the United States Air Force. We just onboarded Colleyville Police Department. We just onboarded the Collin County Sheriff's Department. We're in the process. We're in contract negotiations with NYPD.
Wow.
We're in contract negotiations with Department of Homeland Security.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
So this has exploded, and this was a byproduct of, as I understood it, and kind of looking as a conversation where you were doing a podcast with somebody, and they were talking about, like we're doing, they were talking about their stuff, and after or during the you said, have you ever, and that idea came out of that.
100%.
Which is amazing, because that's exactly when you're moving and you're going forward. I think that's one of the things that is probably a good message for this very point in time, is no matter what you do, even if you're taken off of your main game, where you can't get out of your house or whatever, there's something that you can do, right? And the opportunities will appear as you're moving forward, and that's obviously one of the things you figured out, and it seems like it's pretty consuming.
It's been unbelievable. You can't script this stuff, man. You can't make it up. And then and that's going along, right? And God has these crazy plans. And so I killed it in direct sales. Like, I was a 1%er. And I'm not saying that to be boastful. Please don't take this the wrong way. I find out when you add hard work to almost anything in life, you will win. You will win, because you can beat skill, you can beat speed, but you cannot beat persistence.
Right.
You just can't. And what I lacked in skill, I made up for in numbers. And I was just relentless. And so I get a phone call recently. One of my personal mentors, a guy by the name of Danny Bay. Google that name. He spells it B-A-E. Danny contacted me and he goes, hey, I'm starting my own company. I'm going to expand in this thing pretty aggressively. It deals with virtual reality. I'm like, shut up. I'm already doing that.
I'm already doing virtual, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, well, ground floor opportunity. It might be something for you, maybe not. And so I got on the phone with him, chatted for a little bit. I flew to Vegas and met with him. And so that company's going to be launching in the U.S. probably sometime in April. Like, I needed more stuff to do.
Right.
I got more stuff coming. And if I didn't...
So is this another VR company around the same
It's
concept,
a totally different
totally
animal.
different
Now this
market
is,
or whatever?
No, this is a different animal. So this is, I'll think of it like this. Personal growth platform. Like you and I can go listen to audios from Jim Rohn and
Sure.
Les Brown, all of our favorites, right? We can go do all that. But what if I could go sit down with him right next door and have you ever done virtual reality?
Yeah, I've done some of it, but not nearly enough probably.
So think of it like masterclass. Like you can go to masterclass.com and you can pay a couple $100 and get a private lesson from Steve Martin on how to do stand-up comedy.
Sure.
But think of that in virtual reality. So instead of just being an audio recording, you're sitting down with the dude, and he's like here with you, like this.
So is it interactive like this too?
Yeah,
or
it's not as interactive, but it's a quality content that's immersive. And it's you will capture 40% more in a VR environment than you will in a 2D environment.
Okay.
Because you're immersed. Like right now, there's a lot of distractions, right? There's light.
Right.
In VR, it's different. You're very focused, tunnel vision, right? Not only that, think of it like this. You can put the headset on and go to a concert and sit front row live. Go to a major pay-per-view event and sit front row live. Or you can even do what they call, I think it's called experience before you purchase. Augmented reality, where you can say, I wonder how that watch is going to look on my wrist. And now it pops up on your wrist. And you can go shopping and try on clothes and put a couch in your living room when it's not really there. And then you can shop online. So it's something that's never been done before in direct sales. And they're probably going to be launching sometime in April. So super excited about that as well.
That sounds pretty cool. I guess I want to get some more information on that.
Yeah. So I got a lot going on, but podcasting is a hobby that has paid me dividends. I don't even call it a hobby now. I call it a blessing. And so for people out there, if you're considering doing your own show, I would challenge you, get uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be Griffin Studio. I don't care what studio you rent.
Sure.
Just go find someone that's not going to rip you off, because a lot of people out there are pretty shady. If you would like to consult with me later, I'll be happy to do that for you. And I'll point you in the right direction. You can even do a podcast in your living room, at your kitchen table for next to no money. So if you don't want a private studio, no problem. I'll still be willing to help you out.
Well, that's one of the things that I've already learned about you is you're very much willing to serve and help, and frankly, those are the people that I tend to gravitate towards, and they tend to gravitate towards me. So, so yeah, I definitely know that about you. Let's talk a little bit, before we land the plane here. Just so you obviously bring something to the party. You said you've got a lot of things going, and you wouldn't have a lot of things going. I mean, I realize you're a hard worker, but you wouldn't have a lot of things going if there wasn't value that those people that you've encountered on your journey receive. And I'm not looking for you to be humble here. What is it about you, Rob Griffin, serial entrepreneur, that attracts your ideal client, partner, whatever you want to call it? What is it about you? Just what would you say?
Man, that's a hard one to answer, but I would tell you, I think one of the reasons why that I've been able to build relationships the way that I have is I'm just real. And you don't get a lot of fluff from me, and you may not like the answer, but it's going to be true. And I speak from the heart. And I think so many people are full of crap, and and we're so guarded.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to it, then when we find someone that's just real, at first it's a little off-putting. Then you realize, oh man, this guy's really like this.
If he says it's good, it's good. If he says it's
and
there's a lot of power in that.
And I think it's just being real with people and being respectful, and I would just say the pay it forward mentality.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't care if I like. Oh my God, my wife's gonna get mad. She always tells me, "You're too nice. You're too nice. You're too nice. You're too nice." And I have friends of mine. You're too nice. And I've been taken advantage of a lot.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm too nice. And I said, you know what? That's one I'll wear to the grave. If I have a headstone, which I probably won't, because I'll probably get cremated. But if they had to put a little message on mine, he was too nice, and I'm okay with that.
That I was going to say that's not a bad label to have.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a couple of mentors in my own life, and I constantly get advised that I give away too much, and I do, But I decided in 2005 to not just make money, but make a difference. And if that's your first priority, which it appears to me that it's yours. So let me ask you one more thing, and then we're going to land the plane here.
Sure.
If anything were possible, I know you got a lot of stuff going, but if all those flights come in and you're now living your ideal day as a serial entrepreneur or whatever, what does that look like? What is your if anything were possible?
Well, my why has evolved quite a bit. My why in '08 was to get out of debt, to get back into home ownership, and accomplish all that stuff. My why's evolved now. My why is not even about me anymore. It's more about my children. I mean, I have 2 boys at home right now. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. I just want them. Like, I don't want them to dream of success, or like, man, I don't want someone to have to teach them. I want them to look at my dad and go, because of him, I can do this. Like, I want my actions. And granted, I'm not even close to where I want to be yet. Not even close.
Right.
I'm certainly a work in progress, but I want to be able to model success for them. That's what I want. And if they can look at it and go, my dad did it, then I can do it. Then I can rest easy. And I think once I can show them in that example, and that I can let them rise up and be good men, good Christian men who take care of ladies and open doors and
do all the right
they have
stuff,
manners, and they're not like these. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
And then I will feel very confident going to see my maker, knowing that I did a good job for them.
Wow. And that's clearly. I know the paying the bills and doing the other things are all things that become consuming for folks along the way, but you now just gave me an answer that lets me know that you're playing an infinite game. You're looking beyond your lifespan and having impact beyond that, and I think that's kind of one of the secrets to success I find with most warriors, that because the zombies the bad habits, the things you have to overcome, the challenges, the hard work that you need, all those things, the daily battles are going to be there. But if you're looking to something as powerful as where your children are, and being able to model that behavior, and that they will go on with your vision or their vision aligned with where you're going, I can't think of a more powerful legacy to leave and a thing to do. And you're much too young to worry about legacy, but I think it's something that we probably I could have learned earlier in my life too. And that's one of the things with the song we're gonna play as we land the plane. Before I do though, I want to ask you one more thing.
Sure.
If it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
What one thing would you tell the warriors listening to this podcast to do today?
Oh man, I would say embrace failure.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to take a chance. Because so many people are scared to do that. And I think the reason why we are where we are today is and I won't call it gambling. I would just say go out there. It's okay to fail. Failure is your friend, And if you don't get out of your comfort zone, what does it say? If you don't have your goals written down, if you don't have a detailed plan of where you want to be 5 to 10 years from now, congratulations, you're already there. And so I just say, don't be afraid to fail, man. Don't be afraid to do something crazy. I mean, what was it? Helen Keller said it best. She said, life is meant to be a wild or crazy thing, or not lived at all. And I know I screwed that quote up, but Google it.
Yeah.
And because that's just the way I like, because once you've had a life-threatening illness and you've had a bad situation happen to you, and you realize, man, I could have been taken out right there, then you stop taking your days for granted. That's what I would tell you. Stop taking your days for granted. Don't pretend like you have 1,000 years to live, because you do not. Live each day to the fullest.
Amen. That one's one that I definitely want to do. So, well, thanks everybody for joining us here on Warrior versus Zombie for on Facebook Live. You got to see some of my miscues, but we had a lot of fun here and actually really amazing content, Rob. I'm really thankful that I have you here and giving us this advice. But live each day as if you don't have another. I mean,
Correct.
make the best of it. Embrace the challenges. We're all going through challenges today, but one of the big takeaways I have from Rob's message is we will make it through. That we operate on faith, not fear, and don't take for granted the days, which is it's the journey every day. That's
Amen.
one of the theme songs of this podcast. So thank you guys again. Warrior versus Zombie. We'll be back next week, and with another episode. And it's great having you here.
Thanks for having me on the show, Dave.
Thanks, Rob.
God bless, guys.
I'm gonna let this land.
I like that song.